Yes.
I would like to call the school board meeting for Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 for the Des Moines School Boards to order. Ms. Rivera, could you please take the roll?
Yes. Can you hear me? Perfect. Ms. Alonso Diaz?
Here.
Ms. Bradley?
Here.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson? Ms. Knox?
Here.
Ms. Martirano?
Here.
Ms. Norris?
Here.
Ms. Sawyer?
Here.
Before we begin our first item of business, I would just like to check in with everyone to see how you're doing. I'd like to hear from you all. We won't take any more than 10 minutes to do this, but want to just check on how you're feeling, how you're doing. I will open it to any of my board colleagues and superintendent at this time.
I will go first. I'm always amazed when, I shouldn't be amazed. I'm always proud when I see the DMPS community rally to support one of the schools. In this case, it happened to be the Roosevelt Lady Riders as they made their first trip to the state basketball tournament in a while. And what was amazing is how the community, people from every school showed up to support them. There was, I think, a 4-to-1 ratio of DMPS fans to Valley fans. And I love that. And they left it all on the court. And it just makes me really proud that our community is so proud of the accomplishments of these wonderful women. So proud day, I think, for DMPS and for Roosevelt.
I'm not for sure my audio is working. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I have to admit feeling a little stressed today. It's probably a combination of the 199 million things I have on my plate, which I can control, but I have a tendency not to. But that notwithstanding, I always feel like I find extra energy when it's time to come to this table. And I think I find that energy because of the wonderful board members and the superintendent that we have to work with. So thank you all for giving me that extra kick when sometimes I'd like to just drive on home.
I am feeling very reflective and determined today.
I will say I'm feeling very rested and just eager to dive into the board agenda, which I know is fairly light, but also enjoying the nice weather. So that always makes me a little happy.
I'll go ahead. I think this week I got a little distracted by, similar to Miss Terry's million things happening, but it's good to be here. It's good to sit here with everyone. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll jump in. Echoing what everyone said, again, always energized by coming to this table, feeling like we have a lot to do in a short amount of time and ready to jump in and do it. And I know I always talk about school visits during this time because I think it's also awesome to talk about what's going on in the community. But last week I spent time at Finley and just want to remember that we're not in this alone. Not only do we have wonderful families and staff and students, but we also have great partners and really got to learn a lot about the By Degrees Foundation and the partnership that they have with us in that school, as well as the feeder all the way up to North, and just reminding us all and remembering that we're not in this alone. We have wonderful partners and community support and a lot of good positive things ahead as well.
It has been a really busy week, but definitely glad to be here. nothing better when you're on your way home to grab something for the meeting and you walk into the door with some flowers. So that's always puts a smile on your face. And so appreciate that to the individuals who did that for me. Very thoughtful and energized me to be able to come down here tonight for the meeting. So very grateful for you all. And I know that many might think, why do we take the time to do this? I think it's very important for us to check in with each other. We become so overwhelmed in life with our day-to-day responsibilities that we very rarely take moments just to see how are you doing. And it's okay if we're not doing okay. And I'm just grateful for you all that you're able to share how you're feeling and also are present to get the work done. But that is very important to me to make sure that we're all doing okay so that we can be a part of this meeting. And even when we're struggling, it's okay to admit that out loud and still continue with the work at hand. So thank you for giving us that time to do our check-in with each other. We will now continue with the rest of our meeting. The first item of business is approval of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Martirano, so moved.
Norris, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Martirano and a second by Ms. Norris. Ms. Rivera, could you please take the vote?
Ms. Alonso Diaz,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Knox. Yes. Ms. Martirano,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
The vote is approved, 7-0. The next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our meeting on Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Norris, motion to approve.
Alonso, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Norris and a second by Ms. Alonso Diaz. Ms. Rivera, could you please take the vote?
Ms. Alonso Diaz,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Martirano,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
The vote is approved, 7-0. The next item on the agenda is the public forum. We provide speakers at the forum an opportunity to address the board for up to 3 minutes regarding items that are not on the board agenda. If anyone wishes to speak during this forum, please email rosa.rivera-hernandez@dmschools.org. Speakers will be called individually, and we ask that they please state their name and address prior to providing comments. Student speakers do not need to provide their address. Guests of the board are encouraged to speak to matters relating to the programs, services, and operations of DMPS. Please remember that Iowa law prohibits us from discussing specific employees or their job performance. Please avoid references to personalities or character attacks, as those types of comments do not contribute to the purpose for which this public forum exists. Thank you for your support of our school district. We appreciate your input. As a reminder to the board and public, this public forum is not a time for board engagement or discussion, as it is our obligation to discuss only matters posted in the public agenda and for sake of transparency and opportunity afforded to all community stakeholders. Matters requiring attention will receive appropriate staff and/or board follow-up at a time after the meeting. Ms. Rivera, do we have any speakers this evening?
Yes, we do. I'd like to call the first speaker up. We have Rhonda Kaysen. She's in the room or virtually. Rhonda Kaysen. Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker. I have Gabrielle Smithman. Gabrielle Smithman.
I'm here virtually.
Okay, the floor is yours.
My name is Gabrielle Smithman. I have been a teacher with Des Moines for almost 7 years. I'm taking the time to speak tonight about a concerning pattern that I and other classroom teachers have seen developing in our beloved district, the pattern of inequitable use of funding. To demonstrate this phenomenon, I would like to talk about drinking fountains. Last week, the staff and students at Merrill Middle School watched as our drinking fountains, the majority in near mint condition and less than 2 years old, were ripped out of the walls during the school day nonetheless, and replaced with the exact same drinking fountains. Students were constantly asking why the already perfect drinking fountains were being replaced, and we teachers were left with no reasonable explanation. While this incident seems small, it's gangrenous when witnessed within context. Teachers in my building are unable to print in color, or order enriching posters, anchor charts, or maps to aid in lessons. Our requests for classroom books are left unfulfilled. When staff is forced to upgrade to new devices, we're not given necessary adapters needed to utilize the technology, instead having to beg for building funds to cover the expense or biting the bullet and just ordering them ourselves. Every year, we ask that our lockers are updated and replaced. Instead, we're told that our lockers, most of which are old enough to qualify for AAR membership, do not qualify for replacement. On top of all of this, we classroom teachers watch as our district again and again prioritizes office and district level positions over those of direct instructional positions. In Des Moines, it's starting to feel like the only way to have a fruitful and thriving career in education is to graduate away from the classroom. While some non-instructional positions are necessary, especially in a district of our size, we need to reprioritize. What are we doing as a district to attract high-quality educators? And more importantly, what are we doing to keep them in the classroom? The research base is clear that highly effective teachers are experienced and well-educated. When we create a culture that encourages strong educators to leave the classroom for a seemingly easier job with better pay, what's our incentive to stay? I ask the board and the community members to continue to think about equity in all aspects of our district, including how we utilize the diminishing funding we have. While we have limited control over state level funding, what we do have control over is the funding we already have. I implore the board, district, and community at large to think about how we can increase student and staff voice when it comes to financial decisions. We can't afford to ignore them any longer.
Thank you. The next speaker we have attending virtually is Nicole Cable.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Cable. I'm the school nurse at Roosevelt High School. My address is 1140 19th Street, West Des Moines. I have 2 kids in the district, and I also chair the Nursing COVID Committee. The last time I spoke with you was in January, near the peak of our Omicron surge. Since then, cases and hospitalizations have fallen dramatically in our community, a welcome change for us, and certainly something we are seeing consistent with our district. In recent weeks, I have started to advocate for removing the mask mandate that we have in place, in part because it's increasingly unenforceable as you set foot into our buildings, and also because we need to begin to transition away from an emergency response. On Friday, the CDC released a new framework for assessing and responding to COVID-19 levels in the community. It is some of the best work we've seen out of the CDC in a long time. It's cohesive and common sense and offers a means for communicating with individuals within the community. It shifts away from some of the previous metrics that were included in the COVID-19 data tracker, in part because they're no longer valid. Positivity is a good example. When we only report positivity, our positivity is 100%. So that's what that shows right now. The new metrics really look at cases as a leading indicator, and then also at 2 hospital metrics, with the goal being that we are moving to a system where we are trying to prevent severe disease and reduce the strain on our healthcare system. They have assigned low, medium, and high categories that are easy to understand, and have noted that masking may be necessary by individuals at risk for severe disease at the medium category and by all indoors at the high category. They go on to say that people may choose to mask at any time, and people with symptoms, a positive test, or exposure to someone with COVID-19 should wear a mask. So they note both an opportunity for preference to continue masking and also times where masking may still be needed, required, and that will be true even for us. Currently, Polk County is low, which makes it an optimal time to pivot from mask mandate to a more mask optional approach. It's important as we make this change or consider making this change that we focus on what our messaging is. I'd like to see us continue to support masking by those who prefer to do it, and note that our language there is affirmative. We are supporting those who prefer to continue masking indoors rather than saying you don't have to mask anymore. We need to encourage our individuals to make decisions at the family level about what works best. And that active decision-making would happen not only when we make a change to a mass optional approach, but also if community conditions change again in the future. And finally, we need to be responsive in our messaging to community conditions as they continue to change. COVID-19 will continue to be with us for a while. This new framework from the CDC positions us well to be responsive and to take advantage of times when levels are low, but also clearly communicate a need for indoor masking again if conditions worsen. It allows us to support individuals while also continuing our efforts to support vaccines and boosters, staying home when sick, and all of the ventilation improvements we've made in our building. Now is the time we need to make a change on this. It's the right time for our district. It's the right time for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dan Pardock speaking on the proposed community stadium, attending virtually.
Hello, are you able to hear me okay? All right, terrific. Good evening. I appreciate being given this time to speak. Glad to hear that all the board members are doing as well as they possibly can. My name is Dan Pardock. I live at 4118 Lower Beaver Road, and I graduated from Hoover, and my daughter also graduated from Hoover this past spring. I've been a football and soccer coach at Hoover for 15 seasons and the public address announcer for many events at Hoover over the past 5 years. I'm speaking out tonight to again encourage the board to not move forward with the proposed stadium project. We all know this began back when the board first solicited bids, which all came in over budget. The board went back to the drawing board and once again asked for bids, and for a second time the bids came in over budget. The next step was to break the bids down into several smaller bids, hoping the outcome would be different. Not surprisingly, for the third time, the bids have also come back too high. The money that has been spent so far, along with the funds earmarked for this doomed project, could be benefiting DMPS students in much more meaningful ways. Here are just a few of the projects where that money could be utilized more effectively. First off, Lincoln's baseball field. It has no lights. I can't imagine the scheduling nightmare it must be for both the school and the fans who want to come watch games that have to be held before it gets dark. Also in baseball, Hoover's baseball field has no warning track, something that's been requested for years. This is a safety issue for student athletes. The basketball hoops at Kurtz aren't the proper height. Imagine practicing at a facility that is so poorly maintained you can't even practice a proper jump shot. And also, Hoover has only one practice field. It's used by football in the fall, both boys and girls soccer in the spring. Meredith Middle School uses it for its sports and its PE classes, and it's open to the public year-round. It is riddled with bumps and holes and has patchy clumps of grass at the very best. What a great opportunity it would be if DMPS were to take that, turn it into a turfed, regulation-sized field that can be used by all the Hoover Meredith teams and other DMPS teams as needed for a significantly lower cost than building a new stadium. It could even generate revenue as a rental field for teams outside of DMPS. Imagine how cool it'd be if it became the home field for some of the recreational and amateur teams of this city. It'd be a win-win for everyone involved. I could go on and on with this list, and I know there are currently efforts to repair and replace many items all around the district. I applaud the board's efforts to do so, but feel so much more needs to be done that does not include the proposed stadium. The stadium was meant to be one that rivals the stadiums of our suburban counterparts, and in its present state, it definitely does not. I call upon the board to put an end to this project, along with requesting a complete audit of all funds that have been spent on the proposed stadium up to this point. With a change in leadership comes a change in priorities and a change in direction. Do the right thing and take care of the facilities that we do already have. Listen to the people and put an end to this project that has dragged on for years with no end in sight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Joy Barleen. Joy Barleen, if you are in the meeting or virtually, please unmute. Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker. I have AJ Fisher. Yes.
All right, perfect. I'm AJ Fisher, third generation East Sider, I live at 3507 Kinsey Avenue. So, you guys aren't familiar with mission creep is? Mission creep, the term. Anybody know what that is? One person nodding yes. Okay. I want to read you a quick definition. I don't want to mess this up. Mission creep is a gradual shift in objectives during the course of a military campaign, often resulting in an unplanned long-term commitment. Well, that sounds exactly what the mask mandate is for the Des Moines Public Schools right now. So I don't think that was your intention when you made the rule. That's exactly what's happening right now. So I don't know what the metrics are when this is supposed to end. I went online last night trying to find the numbers. What am I supposed to be looking at? When's this going to go away? No mention of it. I was here 2 weeks ago when the emergency proclamation expired from the governor. There was no mention of the mask mandate going away. So I have 2 kids in Des Moines Public Schools, and this needs to end now. COVID's over. We're done. So we need to go back to normal. Because no one's going to show up and tell you that we're going back to normal. You have to do that on your own. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Michael Ream attending virtually. Please go ahead and unmute. Okay, I'll move on to the next speaker. I have Dan Flaumeyer, also attending virtually. Can you please unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to talk about what I usually talk about, which is the stadium. I'm going to talk about masks. I sent an email to all of you. If I heard back from one of you about, I could go about. I waited for this day at least. So we want to follow the science. We want to follow CDC's recommendation. Well, the recommendation by the CDC was Friday was no more masks for kids. Okay, we can take a break for masks. So that's one. Two, I got a response back, and it's the second time I've heard this from the board. The other one was on a local newscast, and I can provide that information to you as well. That said that our superintendent made that decision. Well, that's fine and dandy, but guess what? Our org chart for board of directors is up top, and underneath there, one of those persons or positions is the superintendent. You guys need to take the lead and make this happen tonight. And I referee, and I'm going to tell you an incident that happened at DMPS. They're warming up before the game, okay, and all the athletes are wearing their masks down to the chin. I was my daughter plays for Roosevelt. I was at the basketball game. We were the only school, and I about guaranteed if you look 4A all the way down to 1A, that our team had masks on warming up. I look over at our fans, their kids, 850 that came. If it was 5%, I'd be surprised. And then they got to go run back in school and play the stupid game again. So just like I told those basketball players, if you guys want to mask up, that's great, but wear it properly. But guess what? Some people need a little help removing a Band-Aid, and you guys might want to start with yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have Speaker Jesse Winters, also attending virtually. Please go ahead and unmute.
Hi, I think that's me, Jessie Richardson-Jones.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jessie Richardson-Jones. I'm the proud parent of a 3rd grader at Perkins. I'm a scientist by training and I work in medical education. I would like to urge you to please keep the mask mandate in place for DMPS until community spread is actually decreased to levels that are defined as low by the CDC. Now, as Nurse Capel mentioned, new CDC recommendations that were released Friday recommend against masking right now in Polk County. These recommendations focus on hospitalization, and they do not seek to minimize infections. Polk County has 144 cases per 100,000 in the last 7 days, which is currently defined as the CDC by the CDC as high community transmission, and that is still on their website. Rather than prioritizing keeping our kids from getting COVID, the new guidelines prioritize keeping hospitals open. Many epidemiologists and infectious disease specialists disagree with this prioritization. As a parent and as a scientist, I also believe that keeping hospitals open is far from sufficient. The baseline goal for families and the school district should be keeping our kids healthy and consistently in classrooms. Some may argue that because vaccines are widely available for kids K through 12, kids should be protected already if they want to be, or if their parents want them to be. Now, apart from the known discrepancies in vaccine equity, this idea unfortunately no longer holds true with the current Omicron variant. The efficacy of vaccines currently available to our elementary age students has been shown recently to be quite low, providing only 12% protection against infection for kids 5 through 11. The authors of the study that just came out emphasized that layered mitigation, which includes masking, remains the best way forward for keeping kids healthy. Now, while boosters may help efficacy against infection if they are authorized, we need to be cognizant that vaccination alone is not a viable strategy to keep kids from catching and spreading COVID at this time. Thank you once again for all the work you're doing on behalf of our kids and our community. Please help us get through the rest of the year with as little disruption to classroom time as possible. Please continue masking at DMPS until rates of community infection actually are low. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to again invite the guests, Rhonda Kaysen, Joy Barleen, or Michael Ream. If you are attending virtually, please go ahead and unmute before we proceed with the meeting.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. This is Michael Ream. I live at 866 39th Street in Des Moines. I have a daughter who attends Roosevelt High School. I would like to second what Ms. Cable and Mr. Fisher said earlier in that DMPS should look at reconsidering the mask mandate as the CDC no longer recommends mask requirements for schools in communities with low to medium risk of COVID-19, which includes Polk County. I think it needs to be reconsidered and move forward with a lesser amount of masking. So in the interest of brevity and the board's time, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the speakers we have signed up.
I would like to thank all our speakers this evening. Again, I would like to reiterate that anything that was shared this evening will receive staff and or board follow-up at a later time. The next item on our agenda are consent items. We allow any person the opportunity to speak to the board for up to 5 minutes following the presentation of an agenda item. If anyone wishes to speak to an agenda item, please email rosa.rivera-hernandez@dmschools.org. Remarks must be germane to the agenda, and we ask that you avoid reference to personalities and character attacks, as those types of comments serve no productive purpose. We appreciate your input. As a reminder to the board and public, the board will not engage in discussion or deliberation with the speaker regarding comments made to agenda items. Discussion and deliberation will remain among board members at the board table with speakers' comments, said discussion, deliberation, and determinations as deemed necessary. Ms. Rivera, do we have any speakers this evening?
We do not.
Ms. Sawyer, I believe you have the consent motion.
Yes, I do. I move that the board approve the consent items in accordance with the recommended action for each item on the consent agenda, including bills previously authorized, certified, and approved for payment by the board secretary in the amount of $4,921,768.73.
Is there a second?
Caldwell Johnson, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Sawyer and a second by Ms. Caldwell Johnson. Any discussion or questions? Ms. Rivera, could you please take the vote?
Yes. Ms. Alonso Diaz?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Knox?
Yes.
Ms. Martorano?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
The consent items are approved 7-0. Next on our agenda is public hearing. First item is D1, public hearing for flooring renovations at East and North High Schools. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to item D1? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Superintendent Ahart, would you please introduce the matter?
I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by Studio Melee for flooring upgrades to East and North High Schools, hold a public hearing, and approve the plans.
May I have a motion and a second to approve item D1?
Caldwell Johnson, move approval.
Second, Martirano.
We have a motion by Ms. Caldwell Johnson and a second by Ms. Martirano. Any discussion or questions? Ms. Rivera, will you please take the vote?
Ms. Alonso Diaz,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Martirano,
Yes.
Ms. Norris, Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
The vote is approved 7-0. Second item is D2, public hearing for flooring renovations at Greenwood and Callanan. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to item D2? Hearing no one, I will close the public hearing. Superintendent Ahart, would you please introduce the matter?
I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by Studio Melee for flooring upgrades to Greenwood Elementary and Callanan Middle Schools, hold a public hearing, and approve the plans.
May I have a motion and a second to approve item D2?
Sawyer, so moved.
Martirano, second.
We have a motion by Ms. Sawyer and a second by Ms. Martirano. Any discussion or questions? Ms. Rivera, could you please take the vote?
Ms. Alonso Diaz,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Martirano,
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
The vote is approved 6-0. Third item is D3, public hearing for parking lot improvements at Hoyt Middle School. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to item D3? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Superintendent Ahart, would you please introduce the matter?
I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by Angelo Architecture for parking lot improvements at Hoyt Middle School, hold a public hearing, and approve the plans.
I have a motion and a second to approve item D3.
Move approval, Caldwell.
Second, Knox.
I have a motion by Ms. Caldwell Johnson and a second by Ms. Knox. Any discussion or questions? Ms. Rivera, could you please take the vote?
Ms. Alonso Diaz,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Martirano,
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
The vote is approved 6-0. Next item is D4, public hearing for parking lot improvements at Hoover High School. Public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to item D4? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Superintendent Ahart, would you please introduce the matter?
I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by Angelo Architecture for parking lot improvements at Hoover High School, hold a public hearing, and approve the plans.
I have a motion and a second to approve item D4.
Alonso, so moved.
Sawyer, second.
I have a motion by Ms. Alonso Diaz and a second by Ms. Sawyer. Is any discussion or questions? Ms. Rivera, could you please take the vote?
Ms. Alonso Diaz,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Martirano,
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
The vote is approved 6-0. Next on the agenda is for information only, and that is the notice of award of competitive quotes. Next item on the agenda we have is items of privilege. Is there any board members that would like to share anything this evening?
I would like to invite everyone to attend the Community Legislative Action meeting on March 12th at 9 a.m. It is virtual. You can sign up at dmschools.org.
I would just like to say it is March 1st, and for those that are not aware, but my colleague, Ms. Alonso Diaz, may be aware that it is Social Work Month. So for school social workers out there, I wish you a happy Social Work Month.
I'm hearing nothing else. I would just like to inform the community that we did originally have on our agenda this evening for a resignation separation agreement of a superintendent. There was an issue with that, getting that on the agenda. So we will be having a special meeting tomorrow to be able to do that. So if you look at the meetings, you will see that posted that we will have that short special meeting tomorrow. So I just wanted to inform everyone where we were at. And we will postpone that meeting until tomorrow. If I'm hearing nothing else, I will turn it over to Superintendent Ahart for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chair Bradley. I want to echo what Ms. Norris said earlier in the meeting. What an amazing season the Roosevelt Lady Riders have had this year. That comes from really year-round hard work by the coaches and obviously the players and all the contributions that are largely unnoticed by the families of the players and the families of the coaches. If you've ever talked to our ADs about my philosophy is if we engage our students effectively, we'll definitely be successful. And we'll have competitors from at least one of our high schools at the state level every year when we're effectively engaging all of our athletes, all of our students in activities that they're passionate about and giving them the appropriate opportunities for development. That being said, I want to just call out what I would consider an extremely successful season for the North Lady Polar Bears. It was not too long ago when it was very difficult for them to etch out a single win in a season, and they're turning into quite the North Side powerhouse. So I want to give kudos to all of our coaches and all of our student athletes in all our activities, and a special shout out to North and Roosevelt for really outstanding seasons by their lady student athletes. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Ahart. And I don't normally do this, but before I do adjourn the meeting, I would like to just remind everyone to keep paying attention to our board agenda. We will be rescheduling our conversation on the budget. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that will be rescheduled at a later time. I would like to adjourn this meeting. You all take note of this at 6:11 p.m.